Hi everyone. Thank you all for joining today. We're just going to let people join the room. I'm Isabelle Knight. I'm going to be speaking to you all today on building your author brand. So if you're tuning in, thanks for joining. And you'll be able to leave comments for me as I'm speaking. And if you'd like to just drop me a comment and say hi, that'd be great, so I know that people are here. And let me know where you're joining us from today. I'm joining you all from very not sunny today, London in the UK. But let me know where you're tuning in from. Drop me a comment so that I can see. Hello, if you're just joining us now. Hi, Craig. Good to see you. So I think we're live on LinkedIn. So I can see, Craig, that you're joining us from LinkedIn. That's fantastic. So I'm Isabelle Knight. I'm going to be speaking to you today on building your author brand. Hello from South Africa. Fantastic. We've got Rebel Ranch joining from Penrose, Colorado. So we're live on YouTube as well. Brilliant. Nice to see everyone. So I am here today. I'm in London, where the weather is miserable and raining. We're just living up to the stereotype. So thank you for joining me. It's great to have you here. If you're just tuning in now, drop me a hello. Hi, Jan. Good morning from New Zealand. Hello. Good afternoon from London. So hi to those on YouTube. Hi to those on LinkedIn. If you don't know me, my name is Isabelle Knight. I'm speaking to you today on building your author brand. And we're being hosted today by Dibbly. So thanks to Dibbly for putting this together and for bringing you all together today to come and chat with me. Now, Dibbly are a creator platform. They're an all-in-one platform for content creators, authors. We have ghostwriters, editors, narrators, designers. Dibbly Create allows you to create your content all in one. So it gives you AI-enhanced features for creating your content and your writing. They also have the Urban Writers platform, where you can work with freelancers and run your entire project on that platform. So we're talking to all kinds of writers, and it's thanks to Dibbly that we're here and they are hosting the session today. So thank you, Dibbly, for having me. And we've got Pamela from Ontario, Canada. Hello. 4 a.m. here in New Zealand. Wow. Okay. Yeah, we really are you're on the other side of the world from me. So it's 4 p.m. for me. Hello from Dubai. Hello. Amazing. All right, we've got people joining from all over the world. And I'm just going to give another minute for people to join us. So while you're coming in, tell me where you're from, tell me where you are. I am speaking to you from London right now. Hello, Sean in Florida. Amazing to meet you. Thank you for joining me. So we've got, if you're on YouTube or you're on LinkedIn, we're live right now. I'll be here for about an hour. We're going to start in 1 minute or so. We're just going to let everybody join, and while you're joining, let me know where you're from so we can say hello. And whilst I'm speaking and giving the presentation, if you have questions while I'm talking, write them down and I'll come back to them towards the end. But I don't want you to forget your questions, so do write the question, drop them in the comments, and then we'll go ahead and answer those towards the end. So thanks again to Dibbly Create for hosting us, the Dibbly content creation platform. So if you are an author, a ghostwriter, editor, content creator, we have narrators, designers, it's an all-in-one platform to create your content. It's AI enhanced, and it puts you in touch with content creation and the marketplace. The Urban Writers platform is where you can work with freelancers and run your whole project. So thank you to Dibbly today for hosting this. Hello from Canada, Toronto, Ontario. Familia, Filipino for family. Excellent. All right, so we have people from all over the world here now, which is very exciting. So my name is Isabelle Knight. My business is Build Your Author Brand. So I help authors, fiction and non-fiction, to create a profile for yourself, raise your profile, get readers, attract your ideal readers, sell your books, and build your author brand. So I'm going to share with you a presentation now. So if you have questions whilst I'm speaking, please do write them down, put them in the comments, and I'll come to them towards the end. Okay. So I'm Isabelle Knight. I have a background behind me of 20 years as a high-level publicist and PR expert in TV, film, entertainment, books, and brands, with a client list that has included J.K. Rowling and BBC, to name a couple. So I'm going to take you through, why do you need an author brand? So building your author brand. So if you've written a book and you're an author, fantastic, well done to you if you've got this far. So if you might have self-published your book with a hybrid model or a small press, or you're an indie publisher, and you've let your friends and family know that you have a book now. You might have posted on your Facebook profile, your social media profiles. Is it time to celebrate yet? Have you thought about how readers are going to be able to buy your book? Have you worked out who is it for? How will they know to buy it? And how will they know it's worth their time and effort to go out and find it and actually read it? So what is the importance of creating an author brand? Now, I speak about the author brand story. So why do you need a brand story if you're an author? Well, the brand story is the key behind every brand or book. It's the thing that lets your ideal reader know that your book is for them. It conveys the messaging, and it will ultimately give you your best chance at gaining the right kind of attention for your book. The author brand story lets your potential or ideal reader know why they should care about your particular book. It will allow you to market the book with the right messaging and allow you to get potential media coverage to give your book credibility and authority, and to give your author brand, your brand, credibility and authority. So for marketing, advertising, PR, promotions, publicity, the key component that we want to draw our ideal readers to us, to want to read and buy a copy of your book, is to offer up your story. And we call this the author brand story. We'll go into this a bit more. So what is the purpose of the author brand story? So it's not enough to tell your readers or tell your audience what your book is about or who it's for. And you might have heard the classic line from marketers that people buy from people, which means in practice that readers and audiences will always connect with the human element of a brand. So they'll connect with the person or the culture or the values or the messaging behind the book as much as with the book itself. And a lot of people, when I start talking about brand, if a lot of authors get quite scared about the word brand. But it doesn't mean that you have to start acting like a celebrity. It doesn't mean that you have to pretend to be a famous person. And your brand is not just about your personality or how friendly you are. And it's also not about how good your book is. I often say to authors that don't hide behind your book. That is, your book won't do the talking. You, as the author, have to speak on behalf of the book. So your author brand story helps you to do this. It tells the reader, how did you get here as the author, right here, right now, today, having either written the book or planning to become an author? What was the journey? What were the key steps you took? And what were the motivations that brought you here? So if you can answer these 3 questions, you don't have to answer them right now, but go away and think about them after this talk. The questions are, why you, why here, why now? So answering those questions about why you wrote your book, why you were the best person, the best placed person to write it, why are you writing it here and now, in the current moment? Why was this the right time to write it? If you can answer those questions, then you're on the way to putting together your compelling author brand story, which will be behind your brand. So I just want to take you through a little case study. So J.K. Rowling was my, one of the most famous clients that I've worked with. And I worked on the Bringing the Strike series to TV for BBC and international broadcasters. And J.K. Rowling wanted to bring a new story to her brand behind the Strike series, written by Robert Galbraith, her pseudonym for writing that brand. And she wanted to break away from being the Harry Potter creator, writing for children. So it was developing this mystery story behind the new mystery series. So who was this new writer? And there was a whole kind of mystery that played out, people trying to guess who Robert Galbraith was. Where did these books come from? So it's kind of creating a story behind the stories before you've even begun. Now, obviously, we don't all need to be, every author brand story doesn't need to be front page news. What it wants to be is to speak to your ideal readers. So your particular readers. When I say to authors, who is your book for? And some authors will say, well, everyone. Your book is never going to be for everyone. It's if you can pitch it to a particular reader, that's how we build up our audience. And it's that reader that your author brand story is going to connect with. So your author brand story can form the basis of all of your communications. Once you know why you wrote the book, how did you come to write it? Why were you the best placed person to write your book? Once we have that messaging and we have that compelling story, we can use it for all kinds of different ways of marketing. So your website copy, blog posts, either contributing to others or writing your own, social media posts, in podcasts, in traditional media, so newspapers, magazines, radio, TV, in person, book festivals and writers' events, talks and readings, for example, in your own local bookshops. And promoting yourself as an author. So some of the ways that you can get started, and here are some strategies that you can look into. Looking for ways to speak about yourself as an author, speak about your work, and using your author brand story to really paint that picture for your ideal reader of why the books are for them. Look for interview opportunities. You can speak to podcasts, so pitching to podcasts, looking for talk opportunities at book festivals, at fairs, media interview opportunities, and really thinking about where your ideal reader is hanging out. So when we're talking about, again, the book is not for everyone. Who is it actually for? Thinking about the demographics of your readership. Where do they hang out? It might be on social media, or it might be traditional media. we might be looking at radio, TV, we might be looking at online press, we might be looking at podcasts, we might be looking at TikTok, at Threads, at LinkedIn, but really thinking about your ideal reader, because that is going to look different for every author. And no marketing strategy is going to be a one-size-fits-all, which is why it's so important to get your messaging, your story, and to use that to help you reach your ideal reader, thinking about who that is. Reviews, obviously for authors, reviews are all important, but researching book reviewers and bloggers. So, moving away from just relying on Amazon reviews or asking friends and family to leave you book reviews, looking at any social media influencers or active book reviewers on social media who are reviewing books in your genre, whether it's fiction or non-fiction. It could be a business book, it could be a genre fiction book, but really researching who are those bloggers, who are those active social media influencers that are reviewing books in your genre. Follow them, research them, start to follow them, get a sense of what kinds of books they're talking about and how they talk about those books, and think about how you can pitch your book to them. Getting in touch with bloggers and social media reviewers, offering to send them a copy of your book is a really great place to start. Telling them, I follow you, I love your book reviews, I've written a book in this genre, would you be interested to see it? So this is a great way of starting to branch out into book reviews where we're not just relying on Amazon or Goodreads for our friends and family reviews, but we're starting to create a wider profile for yourself. Sending ARC copies or digital copies or free copies of your book is a great policy and a great way to encourage reviews, but always write and ask them first if they are willing to receive a copy. There's nothing worse as an author or a writer sending out free books to people where they might get lost, they might get ignored, or it's a digital copy, it gets deleted, for example. So always reach out first, check that they're happy to receive a copy and that you're going to send one across. And that's going to help you to really start to form a relationship with the bloggers and the influencers that could potentially help you in your career. So doing the research, listen to the podcasts, read the blogs that you think are covering the topics that you cover in your books or the genre that you're writing in and that appeal to your ideal reader. So there is some time given up to research is a fantastic use of your time when you're not writing and you're thinking about your marketing strategy. Follow, as I've said, follow the social media influencers, but follow the journalists that you wish were writing about you in your book. If you have a dream kind of book reviewer or journalist that you'd love to connect with, follow them, send them a message. Nothing better, journalists would love to be complimented on any articles they've written, or they might have posted on social media, and you loved what they were talking about, you loved the subject. Let them know. Direct engagement goes a really long way to forming those crucial connections that are going to be that you're going to be able to benefit from in the long term in your author career. And if you do get a review or somebody posts about your book or you're writing somewhere, always say thank you. It's a really good policy to always thank a journalist or a reviewer or a blogger if they have given your book a write-up or mentioned it in some way. So any ways that you can form relationships with, whether it's bloggers, social media influencers, journalists, with the media in all of its forms, is absolutely so crucial and so valuable when you start to create an author profile for yourself. So we're not just we're not just relying on social media platforms. We're not just relying on we're not relying on readers finding you. We're looking at being proactive, thinking about who is my reader, how am I going to reach them, and forming relationships with the people that can help you to reach those readers. Things that you can try for yourself. So I work with lots of authors, and many of them have tried these strategies and these techniques, some to great success. But wherever you are in the world, and I know we've got people all over the world right now watching, contacting your local media. So I often say start with where you are. So start with looking to the media that is local to you, or covers the region you live in. Newspapers, magazines, radio, TV, podcasts love to champion people that are local artists, local creatives, local writers, content creators. Local media loves to champion local people. So if anyone is making a success of themselves creatively or financially, starting by talking to the local news or local magazines is a fantastic way of beginning to develop a kind of, a media relationship. Always ask for editorial, and these are the people that actually decide which stories make it into the newspaper. So if you're emailing someone, you're phoning someone, you might be direct messaging someone, making sure that it's a journalist that's on the editorial team rather than going down the advertising route. And start, letting them know who you are, using your author brand story, your brand story, to let them know why you're writing what you're writing, how did you come to it, what it means to you, and approaching it from that direction. Calling up your local radio station, if you have radio local to you, another brilliant way of starting to form that relationship with the media. If you're an author in your local area, introduce them to your brand story and your book. And they may well be interested in interviewing you, or even giving a short reading. Radio has a lot of airtime to fill. So it's a really brilliant way of starting to work with the media. Authors who have worked on their author brand story as their first step. So I have authors that have worked with me who've managed to achieve a status as regular contributors to radio. For example, BBC Radio. They've had in-store book launches hosted for them, creating relationships with local retailers in much the same way as they have with local press and media, using that author brand story, and forming relationships with independent bookstores. Authors have achieved magazine interview features. They've become editors of writing magazines. They've delivered keynote speeches at conferences. They've been nominated to have their books optioned for film and TV scripts. They've launched related businesses as kind of additional businesses to their central author business, and they've entered for and won writing awards. And all of these things have started with getting their author brand story defined and communicated to their audience and their ideal reader. So promoting your author brand and your work, both right now and into the future, creating your author profile gives you credibility as an author. So starting to create a profile that doesn't just rely on social media, but starts to reach readers in other ways, gives you authenticity and authority in your field of writing or in your genre, and gives you that all-important credibility. So your publicity and your marketing strategy is absolutely essential. Researching your audience, creating a strategy, and knowing what and how to pitch to the media. If now or in the future your dream is to get a publishing deal or find an agent, or even securing more retailers for your books, having what I call a bank of media evidence. So what that means is that you've So you've been interviewed on radio, you've featured on some podcasts, you've perhaps given some talks. This is all evidence that you know how to speak about yourself as an author. You know how to engage with your audience. And it's brilliant evidence. And if it includes coverage in things like press, online, and broadcast, it's really showing future agents and publishers and even retailers that you are credible and your work is credible. It's absolutely valuable to building that profile that will serve you in the future. And it shows that you have an audience and that there is an interest in and demand for your work. If for example, one podcast has found your work and you're interesting enough to speak to, the chances are that others will say, "Oh yeah, they seem like a good prospect." So, radio, magazines, newspapers, podcasts, TV, all of these really go a long way to giving you that crucial credibility for your future career. I'd like to let you know about an opportunity that you can work with me now on your author brand story to build your author brand and really understand how you can raise your profile, use your author brand in an impactful way to get more readers, to get the kinds of success that we've just been talking about. I have a new 10-week online program. So this is exclusively for indie and self-published authors or small press authors in both fiction and non-fiction. So this is to help you create your author brand story, help you to figure out who your ideal readers are and put together the strategy that is going to get you in front of those readers and really build out that profile to get you more success now and into the future. So creating your PR, your marketing, your promotional strategy to reach the biggest possible audience. So my program begins on the 15th of October, and there is a chance for you to book your space after this event with a special offer. And you can book a free call with me as well to talk to me about whether the program is right for you. And there is a discount offer for you, which will be shared with you. Again, thanks to Dibley for hosting this. So that is the end of my slides. I'd like to invite you to ask me any questions that you have. And yeah, so there's a special discount offer for you as a thank you for watching this program, and there's a link going up for you now as well so that you can have a look at the details of the program. So if anyone has questions that they would like to ask me, if you want to drop those into the comments now. All right, so I think we have a question. So what steps should authors take if they feel like they've outgrown their original brand? That is a brilliant question. So one, and this kind of links to another question that I get asked a lot, and some of you may be thinking. When an author has several, let's call them different brands. So some authors say to me, oh, but I'm a romance author, and I'm ghostwriting fantasy, and I'm editing a magazine, and I'm writing children's books, let's say, or illustrating children's books. And they're doing all of these things at once. So with the author brand story, what this does is it helps you to create a brand that actually acts as an umbrella to all of the different things that you're doing. Because what we get is a central brand that tells us who you are. Because who you are doesn't change whether you're ghostwriting fantasy or writing steamy romance or writing children's books. You could be doing all of those things at once, but who you are as an author or as a person doesn't change. So when people say to me, oh, they've outgrown their original brand, my advice tends to be, well, in that case, if you've constructed that brand based on what you think what you think that brand should be. So you might have said, oh, I'm a children's author and I write books for 5-year-olds. And then you're thinking, oh, but I want to, I need to evolve this brand. I need to expand it. So it's really getting to the heart of who you are as an author, what's driving you to write what you write, and coming back to those questions of why you, why here, why now, so that we have that kind of that basis of your author brand story, which you can then evolve and build on into the future as it grows and as your output grows, as you develop more and more content, whatever that looks like for you. So it's allowing the author brand to evolve without having to kind of scratch everything, start again, and imagining what your brand should be. So I hope that makes sense to people. If you have other questions off the back of what I've just said, then please do drop them in the comments. Craig has a question. If there were an ideal process, would it begin with developing an author brand or creative property first? This is a really good question. And I think that, yeah, this is a massively relevant question, because I think a lot of people kind of struggle with this. What I tend to say is, if you don't have any creative property or output to begin with, it's a good idea. So, for example, if I'm working with an author, I might say to them, get your first draft of a book written before you come to me and before we start talking about your brand. But do it before you have the finished product ready to sell, if that makes sense. Because the author brand story is really going to help you. Often it really helps authors to kind of finish their book, to give them a direction and a purpose with their book, to help them to really think about, what do I want my book to do, or what do I want my creative property to do? Who is it for? What do I want it to do for people? And it really helps you to kind of focus in on, who am I marketing this to? So, definitely working on the author brand before you are ready to sell, before you have a creative property finished and you're ready to take it to an audience or a market. But have begun the creative process, have begun the process of writing, of creating, so that you have an idea of where you're going with it, and what kind of things are inspiring to you, and who you want to be as a creator. I think it's useful to get to that point and then look at the brand story, and then use the brand story to help you kind of define and refine the creative process and the property before you get ready to put it in front of an audience. Right, which question am I going? I'm going to go to the question in the comments box. So, how can authors adapt their brand for international audiences or markets? So your brand story, as I've said, is your kind of central brand story. So who you are, why you write, that doesn't change according to different audiences and different markets. The way you market different books, you will adapt for different audiences and markets. But the underlying, the kind of foundations of it will stay the same, and those will always help you to be thinking about, what is this product, or what is this book or output for, and who is it for? But so, for example, if you're a writer that's written a children's book and you've ghostwritten a fantasy book, for example, so the way those different books are marketed is going to change and is going to be adapted. So again, it's researching who is the audience, how do you reach those audiences in different territories or different markets, because that will change. Obviously, media changes depending on where you are in the world. Even social media changes depending on where you are in the world. So it's looking at the different platforms that you're going to use, but your kind of purpose with your work is that's what grounds you and will act as the umbrella for all of the different adaptations of marketing. Right, I'm going to go to the comments. So Familia, I think it was. My brand will be shaped around my inspiration from my daughter, but the topics will also be diverse, from AI technology, society, children's books, and politics. Yeah, so that's a great example of what happens when you have these different topics, different subjects. But as you said, the inspiration is from your daughter. So it's thinking about, what does it mean to you? What do all these different kinds of projects mean to you? Where do they come from? What's the link between them all? The thing they have in common. So is it that the inspiration comes from your daughter across all of these topics? So what is it? Is actually the link? Is it all about education, for example? Is it education on politics, on society? Is it looking at how we evolve our knowledge and understanding? So, for example, that could be the link between all of those different things, and that helps to ground you when you're thinking about, how do I talk about my work? How do I market it? And how do I reach my potential readers and audience? So thanks for all these questions. They are brilliant questions. Somebody's saying the link is broken. Okay, thanks for pointing out. We'll try and fix that now. So bear with us on that one, please. But thank you for these brilliant questions. So we have another one. How can new authors start building a brand before their first book is published? That is an excellent question. And again, one that I know lots of authors really struggle with as well. Of what, when to act, when do I take action? When should you start building your brand? So, I mean, the short answer to this is of when to start is as soon as you possibly can. But the how to start building a brand before you have a book is to start by really, allowing that author brand story to guide you, and letting your audience know who you are, know what motivates you as a writer, know what motivates you, what you want to achieve with your books and your work. And you can start talking about that before you even have a book ready to sell. And doing that research of who is the audience and how are you going to reach them, that's definitely something that you can start doing before you've even written a word. If you know what you want to write about, what you are writing about, and then you can start thinking about, well, what are the motivations for this? What are the values? What are the underlying messages that you really want to get across to eventually your audience and eventual readers? So you can start to talk about these things, let people get to know you. If you've identified the social media platforms that you're going to use to reach your ultimate ideal readers, then start building up that presence on those platforms and begin talking a bit more about yourself, your work, what inspires you, what motivates you. Let them get to know you first, and then you can start sharing your process for the writing. You can start talking about what you're actually working on, and then ultimately coming up to letting people know when a book might be released, that they can then go ahead and buy. I think we have a last question coming in. I've just seen this question. Is there a path to bestseller without huge advertising dollars? Absolutely. So all of the things that I've talked about today, all of the different strategies, the way to approach this, none of these involve any spend at all. If you can do all of this yourself. You can start to create those key relationships that we talked about. You can start to do your research, put together your author brand story, your messaging. None of this has to cost you anything. So when it's built on relationships, it's built on reaching out to the right influencers, bloggers, reviewers, wherever you are in the world, looking at who is around you, and who is speaking to the readers that you want to reach. So none of this involves advertising. None of this involves paying for advertising. So I've got another question here. Oh, there's a couple of questions now. Hang on. So I'm gonna take this one from Hamish. When it comes to a great story or article that you have written, is it worth waiting to find the right platform to publish the story, or should you post it on your own site even if the traffic is low? This is another really good question, but I think the real question here is to think about where you're going to publish in terms of how is it going to reach the audience you want to reach. So if you've got your own platform, do you already, even if the traffic is low, are they the right people? You might not have a huge volume of people, but if they're the right people, then they're much more likely to connect with the work. So it's really about when you're thinking about where and how to publish, what's going to give you the best route to your ideal readers. And I've got another question I think I missed here. Does creating an author brand help financial gain? So with any of you, whatever kind of writer, content creator, author you are, the more that you can get in front of your audience, really identify who your ideal audience is, your ideal reader, get in front of them as much as possible through the biggest, most impactful routes. Some of those we've talked about today. We've talked about the traditional media, we've talked about radio, we've talked about TV, we've talked about podcasting, we've talked about reaching out to bloggers, reviewers, doing all of these things. If you can get in front of as many ideal readers as possible, then if you do that work, you're going to have the best chances of success and financial gain. Okay, I'm just seeing this. The course is closed for enrollment. I will check that for you. It shouldn't say that. So yeah, we'll double check those links and make sure that the course is open for enrollment. Fantastic. So that's great. You can also you can send me a DM as well if you want to have a quick chat with me. And I want to say thank you again to Dibbly for hosting this today. So the Dibbly platform is Create Dibbly and the Urban Writers. Check them out if you're a content creator, a writer, a freelancer. Those platforms are amazing resources for you to check out. So thank you, Dibbly, for hosting today. And you can reach out to support@dibbly.com if there are any issues. And again, we'll double check the links that we've shared with you now, but it's support@dibbly.com if there's any problems accessing. Okay, thank you all for watching, and it's amazing to meet you, and thanks for your brilliant questions. And you can find me on LinkedIn, you can find me on Instagram, Threads, TikTok. You can connect with me on social media as well. But thank you very much. Thank you all.